I genuinely thought everyone wanted to be a boy, and if you were unlucky, you were born like into, you know, assigned birth, girl at birth, and that was just, everyone's just like, it'd be things like I'd ask my friends, I'd be like, oh, so like, they'd be like, if you could be a boy or a girl, what would you be? And I'm like, oh, obviously a boy. Come on, like, you're ridiculous. We're hating this, aren't we? We're all hating. You're not hating. So, this is awkward.
I'm so excited for this week's video because I'm going to be talking to one of my favourite people in the world, Dan Bacon. Dan is a trans man, and trans people in general still receive a lot of discrimination, but within the context of sex, there is arguably even more. I'm looking forward to debunking some of these common misconceptions about the trans experience, as well as just talking about sex with one of my favourite people. Let's get into it.
You were like, oh, we're getting crazy up in here.
What have you got? Cheers.
I ended up getting, I wasn't sure where my red wine was, I got a little gin and tonic.
I think that every time I talk to you, I always learn so much, and I always have such a takeaway, and I'm always like, Dan's done it again. He's dropped the truth bombs. And I was like, so stoked that you came and, you know, talked to me here, because it's like, it is kind of a big deal to talk about these things online.
Oh yeah, no, look, I'm not gonna lie, I'm very open with, but I was like, this is online, this feels pretty, it's a bit, you know, even for me, it's quite a new experience. And I just think even, you know, in relation to being transgender, being not necessarily everyone's going to understand that, respect that, be able to take it on board in a positive way, and that kind of puts yourself open to threats or feeling, you know, judged, you know, whether it's, you know, physically, like, don't feel safe, or just emotionally feeling attacked and things like that. Like, it is, you're putting yourself out there. So I was a little bit nervous, but at the same time, it's also good because having these positive experiences, just putting a face sometimes to something and just being like, you know, everyone's human. Everyone's got different journeys we're going on, and just, again, realizing that we are all human, and it's not a big thing as everyone likes to make it out to be. So it's definitely, sometimes, at first it feels pretty big. You're like, what is this? But, you know, then you're like, oh, I'm just me. I'm just the same person I've always been.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, totally.
So for me, gender it's based on your identity and how you obviously express, relate, like, perceive yourself. It isn't, you know what I mean, like a math question, 1 + 1, you get given that. It's what you've taken on board and how you feel with that. So you can identify as a male, you can identify as a woman, or you can identify as, you know, non-binary, just various different things. That's not really anyone else's place. That's how you feel. So it's important to know the difference between that and then also sex, which is how you are factoring in, obviously, genetics and how you are assigned at birth.
Yeah.
Which obviously a lot of people get confused by, because they just put you in that box of that's your sex, that's all you can do. But, you know, there can be different, you know, levels. Obviously, no one ever really necessarily fits 100% into a certain box on their gender expression, whether they're cisgender or, you know, transgender. It's just different personalities and different points of it. So in regards to sexual orientation, also very different, because I know people can get very confused, because you can be assigned one way at birth and then transition into something different. And they're like, so what happens with who do you like now? And that's a fair question, because, again, the language you're using can be different. And then also your sexual orientation can also change during transitioning as well. For me, sexual orientation, I would work off gender, not sex. Because it's how you identify. So obviously I identify as a man and I am attracted to a woman. So in that regard, obviously I'm heterosexual. Like, gender and sexual orientation are very different, but I think people kind of try to lump them together and get them a bit confused. Yeah, that's the one thing. Like, I remember even when I first transitioned, like, so who do you like now? What's going on there? And I'm like, well, this isn't, my sexual orientation has always been, that's, again, who I'm attracted to, but I'm just letting you know your preconceived idea of who you thought I was isn't how I identify, and I'm just letting you know who the real me is. The sex change, that is, I think when people hear transgender, because it's still kind of coming to terms with, it's still kind of getting that that light sort of brought onto it, there's still a lot of confusion. People always go to what's in your pants. That's just the
Yeah.
biggest thing. They're always like, transgender, so what's in what's going on? Let's lift the hood up. Well, I'm like, no, I'm not a bloody car. Like, we don't have to, I'm not asking you what's in your pants. Like, this isn't a conversation. I'm like, unless you've asked every single other person in this whole room, like, I don't think this is appropriate. So, but yeah, no, definitely people think it's involving obviously a sex change and undergoing particular like operations and things like that. That isn't, like, again, being transgender is an identity, like it's how you identify. You don't need to undergo, I mean, it can include obviously medical changes. Personally, I have I have had hormones, I have had top surgery, I've done certain changes that aligned with where I was moving forward, what I felt comfortable with, and reaffirming and complementing my gender identity. But you are still 100% trans, and if you don't do any of that, like, it's literally just how you feel within yourself. They think like, it's either like you're a man or you're a woman, and it's again trying to go, okay, this isn't really right, but we're just going to try to push you into a box. And it's like, well, I'm never gonna fit in that. So, and it's accepting that and coming at peace with it, and then not letting people try to, again, they're trying to tell you who you are. And the whole point of being trans is actually saying, no, listen to me, this is who I am. How I do it, again, very, like, it's different with all trans, the same way people who say gender have sex different ways. It's literally a personal preference.
Yeah.
For me, I am definitely a lot more of a giver, which I think you just get in general sort of relationships anyway. So that will be like in regards to like hands, mouth, and then obviously like using other things, which some people consider them strap-ons. If I was to use it, I wouldn't really necessarily call it that, because in my head it's probably more associated with a part I would feel like I identify having.
Yeah.
So I'd be more like, that'd be my dick. So everybody is different, and so everyone knows. I think everyone knows that on a certain level. They're like, oh,
yeah.
no one person's saying we're all different. We're all unique. We're all individuals. And then we approach sex like, oh, everyone likes this though. And yeah, obviously, I think definitely I need to have the chat so then they can be aware of the situation, so they're not going in kind of misconceived by any means. But just in general, you need to have a chat. Like, I'm sorry, I'm the kind of person, I'm just like, you want sex, you want to have a good time, right? Like, if you like particular things, let me know, and we can make it happen. So I think it's important to communicate, because, people, have certain previous experiences, they have certain preferences, and it's just being on the same page so you can meet each other's needs. I think that's a huge part of sex. It is a relationship, whether it's a very brief one or a longer lasting one. It is a relationship. It is an interaction, with your bodies, which is nice. And it is, it can be intimate. And so it's about learning the boundaries of each other's bodies, but also like learning how to explore them in the best way possible. I think, life's too short to have really shit sex. For me, like, dysphoria is obviously just like having, obviously transitioning, you kind of grow up in this, a lot of people feel that they kind of grow up in a body that doesn't feel like their own. And it kind of is like, it's as if you're like renting a house that you just don't own, and you just don't live it. And it's just kind of really confusing to being in this and trying to navigate, what am I doing? What do I do with this? What do I do? And for me, dysphoria is kind of elements of that. So it's this discomfort that you can feel with, just particular parts for many different reasons. So, and just kind of, not feeling attached to them, and just feeling disconnected. I would obviously have, prior to top surgery, I had dysphoria with my chest, because you'd be dealing with it and you're like, it just doesn't, what's going on? It's just, I don't know, it's hard to explain, I guess, if you haven't felt it. I do struggle with dysphoria with, obviously, my bottom half, particularly in my head. It's because that, if we're, I know some people are obviously more open-minded and developed in certain ways, but that part, obviously the vulva and, that sort of, genital area is by definition, of what people consider, associated with female.
Yeah.
And a huge, concern, fear that I would have is, if someone was to then engage with that part, it would take away from my identity and how they view me. And their perception of me would change. And that's something that when you've worked so hard and come to such an important part that you actually really accept yourself, you like yourself, and you've worked so hard on getting to this point, the thought of that, someone being able to take that away and discrediting it, it is quite, it's very stressful. I think, language is definitely huge. I think a lot of it with, if I'm going to say, the trans community, it's feeling the need to try to justify yourself or justify your identity, or having to constantly, because cisgender people don't, people don't come up to cisgender people and go, so how do you have sex? What do you do? So where do you put it? Or what have you got down there, and what do you do with that? What's got? I've never been out and seen a cisgender person be asked that.
Yeah.
I've had lots of people ask me that. Transgender is still a gender, like view it as any other gender and just kind of approach the same way. Be like, do people ask you those questions? And just notice the difference between, like, would I do this to a cisgender person? Would I do this to a heterosexual? Would I do this even to a homosexual? And if the answer is no, then why is it okay to do it to a transgender person? Obviously with pronouns, I think that's a huge way to reaffirm and show respect of someone's gender identity. If, you know what I mean? Again, people can be at different levels. People can express different, ways. The same way certain women, even if they're cisgendered, might be more masculine.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how they're presenting or how they're coming across. If you're ever unsure, I think the go-to would just start using they, them, because then you're not particularly signaling one out. Or if you want to, what pronouns would you prefer? I think that's a question that needs to start being normalized, because someone just assuming something and then misgendering me is a lot more hurtful than someone actually wanting to know and then trying to respect me moving forward.
And another thing you can do is it's the same as we were saying before with sex, is flipping it, saying, oh, hi, by the way, just so you know, I like to go by she, her for my pronouns. What are yours?
Yep. And if, you struggle, even things I think like just using their name, if they can give you a particular name they want, sometimes it's easy for people just to hold on to a name and then eventually the pronouns will kind of coincide with that new identity. I know sometimes people often, like, you're having a conversation with someone and you miss someone's name and you don't want to ask again. And I've been there, you know what I mean? You're like, I don't have to ask the name again. But in regards to, if you feel like you are dealing with a transgender person and you want to be respectful, ask their name again. Ask it 5 times. I don't care how stupid you feel. I don't know. I think sometimes people's prejudice can kind of come across, even, because they'll be curious. They're not sure how you have sex, and they're like worried that you can't then please people. And you're like, trust me. What happens? I was like, I know a thing or two. Let me reassure you. And I think it's kind of wrong, again, just to kind of assume that your sex life, just because it might be different to yours, but doesn't mean it is any less, any more legitimate, or any less satisfying.
Yeah.
I'll tell you,
and
there's a lot of good sex happening. The trans community.
Fucking oath. This is because we're coming full circle now. A lot of that is because of society's narrow view of what it means to have sex, which is why we must redefine the definition of sex. So
we do. It's bloody about time. It's about time.
So following on from a edit from a lesbian identifying person and a sexual identifying person, the current definition of sex is sex is the same as love. Sex is one form of a physical act that some people choose to do or not to do.
That's really good. I think it's good to differentiate that it is different from love, because I've definitely not been in love with all the people I've had sex with. Yeah. Sex is not the same as love. Check. I would more say interaction than an act. I don't know, but that's just like a particular wording. That's like nitpicking, really. It's not 2 people. It could be more. You can have hello.
Yeah, not that I ever have.
Also,
but
you can.
I'd love
you
to.
You can. I also haven't, but you know what I mean. I'm always open to new experiences personally. I know. Plug me at the bottom, and Daniel likes making to send me a DM. We're gonna woo.
The orgy's happening in the Perth area.
Oh Lord.
Approximately 10 hours later.
Okay. Sex is not the same as love. Sex is one form of a physical interaction that should be consensual between all those involved. It is an act that people can choose to participate in or not.
Well
Dictionary
done.
Dan. Dictionary Dan. There you go. There you go. Cheers to that.
Cheers. Thank you for helping me redefine sex once again.
Mission accomplished.
Fucking a job well done, I say. It's been lovely, actually.
This is so nice. Like it kind of feels like you're here.
It feels like
Yeah,
I'm there.
Yeah, for me, I'm obviously at a really content place with where I'm at, and I'm obviously so open to helping, where I can, and have conversations with anyone if they've got any questions. So by all means, just send us a message, and then also depending on your experience, it depends on what kind of resources you might need. I can also, like I said, just list some websites and even like maybe some books and things like that I can let people see. But no, all by means, happy to post my Insta up there, and then you can just like DM, is that what you say? DM me, and then we can go from. I don't know, man. I haven't really done anything like that. But
yeah, I know.
I'm always down for a chat.